Hey, you. Yeah, you. What you doing? I know what I'm doing. I'm starting my week off right with Talking About the Blues podcast, baby.
What's going on? What's going on? You are now bluesing with the number one blues broadcast in New York City, talking about the blues, baby. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, like the Facebook page, and subscribe to the website. Stay tuned for our live interviews, baby. Welcome, good folk, to another broadcast of Talking About the Blues. And you are bluesing with Jack Dapper, and I got a real bluesing guest. And I know you're saying, why is he bluesing and no one else is? Because everybody should be bluesing or talking about the blues. But what you got to understand is, this brother, first and foremost, was born in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, raised on a farm. That's the blues. Secondly, I'm only counting these 3, 4 records because I believe he has more than these. You got Blues in My Way, Bluesing for Life. You got Bluesingology. This is the Blues Cat. Welcome to Talking About the Blues, Dexter Allen. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, what's going on with you?
We just chilling. So
Yeah. Chilling with the blues, man. That's what I'm talking about.
That's right. And our tagline is "Keep Bluesing," and it looks like you really are bluesing. So let's just dive right into your bluesing.
Man, I tell you, like you said earlier, man, Mississippi, born and raised, born in Crystal Springs, a little small town. But I tell people, Crystal Springs, I was actually born in Crystal Springs. You know, I didn't make it my mom didn't make it to the hospital. We had to stop at the doctor's office, and I was born in that little small town. And,
Wow.
Grew up on a farm, man. Grandfather raised crops, about 100+ acres, and we farmed. And my dad is the pastor of a church and had a quartet gospel group. And I started out playing at the age of 12, playing bass guitar for his quartet gospel group. And my Uncle Porter, he saw I was interested in the lead guitar, and he was showing me some things on that thing, man, and I picked it up, and I haven't been able to put it down ever since,
I could dig it.
And played gospel for a long time in church, quartet gospel groups, stuff like that. We traveled around regionally, different states and different, things like that. And later on, moved into the blues, man. I met Bad Bobby Russian, and the rest has been it's been all about the blues.
It's been blues history.
One thing he told me, I was playing for a local church here, and he's a member of the church, and he would see me play. And when he had an opportunity and needed a guitarist, and asked me about playing for him, and he said, well, do you play the blues? I said, well, I play church and gospel. He said, well, I've been listening to you. He said, you playing the blues, you just don't realize you're playing the blues. and that's how all that started, man.
Wow, that's deep. This is such a rich story.
Because I began to learn, and I got into it. I said, well, he was right, because when you look at the history of it, they're very similar. When you talk about gospel music, you're talking about something with a feeling and a emotion, someone wanting to be delivered.
Right.
When you're talking about the blues, I mean, you're talking about the same feelings and emotions, and whether it's sad, whether it's happy, it still comes from within. It's that feeling. Some people call it that feel good music.
I dig it, and it's also a version of being delivered.
That's right.
So so at this point, they're beyond twins are cut from the same cloth. They're actually the same thing to a degree.
That's right. I know Bobby used to always say, you never have a blues show and a gospel show on the same day in the same town, because they draw the same crowd.
That's deep.
Especially down south,
Oh, absolutely. where some of the juke joints at night became churches in the morning.
That's right. You're definitely right. You are definitely right, man. And it's, like I said, it's a way of life. Blues comes from an era where there was a struggle and there was a way and there was a way of life. But I tell people all the time, I said my blues, that's what it is. It's my blues. I give honor to the pioneers. The Howlin' Wolves, Waters, and so forth and so on. They set the stage. But I have to sing about things that I can relate to. See, I can't sing about picking cotton and walking up Highway 61 and big boss man and working all day in the sun. Because I've never done that. I ain't gonna never pick no cotton.
That's real.
And I got too many cars to walk anywhere. So I have to sing about blues that relates to the everyday man and woman, because that's that's my blues. That's blues that people in this day and era can relate to. And we will never forget from whence it came, but let's not keep it, stranded back there. Let's when you look at it, Garth Brooks ain't singing what Conway Twitty was singing about.
Wow.
Yeah,
I dig it. I dig
you see what I'm saying? Jay-Z ain't singing what Run DMC was singing about.
Not at all.
So we can't expect, to keep the blues, hindered back there. We wanna understand that this is where it come from and this is the roots of it, because when you talk about a good blues song, you're talking about a story. You got to be talking about something. It's got to have a storyline. You got to have an emotion and a delivery. Those are the three essences, the three elements of a good blues song. Got to have a story. Got to be talking about something.
Absolutely.
And it has to have some emotions in it. People have to feel it. And then as an artist, you have to be able to deliver it.
Right.
Which is the same thing when you talk about church music from where I come from. When we would go into a place to perform gospel, we would go in hopes of the people to feel the spirit.
Right.
We sang. Yeah. So a lot of people say, well, man, it looks so easy when you're on stage. It's just because that's where I come from. I bring it with me. I don't care if you don't move 2 inches. I don't know. I don't have a one level. It's on. That's it. It's just on. From some people try to. I see some of the guys. Well, we're gonna start off easy and go. No, I tell my band, no. We coming hard from the door to the floor.
That's right.
Because that's all I know. That I came up that way. In those little churches, and it's hot up in there. Everybody's fanning. They, window fans in the windows. And stuff, and everybody in there jumping and feeling the spirit and having a good time. So when I came into the blues, I'm like, hey, man, this is, especially sometimes playing the clubs and, even the large venues, the festivals, when you look down and see the crowd and you can see that they're feeling what you're doing. And that's just, it's and I tell them all, it just comes from the heart, it comes from the heart.
That's deep. So let me ask you this question, because you hit on so many great points, but let's start with this one.
Okay.
The blues has to grow, meaning we know where it came from, but in this day and age, we have to sing the blues for what's going on right now.
That's right.
Now, with that being said, is it possible to do that with the style of yesterday?
I think we have to be creative. I think we have to collaborate. Here's one thing that I often say. I look at Muddy Waters and I what he stood for and how he directed his music. I just really, and even someone like Howlin' Wolf, you can say, or Lil Walter.
Yeah.
I think if Lil Walter was living today, he wouldn't be sounding like Lil Walter sounded in his I think he would have adapted to some things, because even when you listen to the artists that even come from the Motown era, when you listen to Stevie Wonder in 1965 and then listen to Stevie Wonder in 2015, it's two different Stevies, but it's still the same Stevie.
Right. Right.
Different instrumentation. I think if Marvin Gaye was here, it would be the same thing. So I think that, we just have to bridge the gap. We have to collaborate, because I think the blues does not get the mainstream exposure that it deserved, in my personal opinion, because how many blues artists have you seen on MTV Cribs?
None.
You haven't seen none. So you have a pop culture, a lot of young people that love music that hears blues and a lot of stuff, but they don't recognize what it is, because when they see it on mainstream, they see something that they can't identify with, and when they hear it on a mainstream, they still can't identify with it, so they keep it in a certain class or a certain position. I think that when you bridge that gap, why can't a Dexter Allen or a Gary Clark Jr. do something with a Jay-Z or a Kanye West? You see what I'm saying? As young entertainers, as young artists, I think we have to collaborate to introduce it to the people.
Well, you know what? That's very interesting because most pop music, if not all, has essence of blues, of gospel, of Negro
Hmm.
spirituals, of prison songs,
Hmm.
right? As well as folk, Appalachian music, and things of that nature.
Right.
But I say that to say because blues, hip hop, and prison songs, Negro spirituals, those were musics that had no other influence other
That's
than
right.
the black experience.
Hmm.
Now, I say that because I'm leading to the question. Besides radio and mainstream, why do you
Hmm.
think there's been a disconnect between the generations? Because in hip hop and R&B, you still hear the essence of original rhythm and blues. You still hear the essence of soul and
Right.
funk, but
Right.
you
Right.
rarely hear Negro spirituals and if you hear it, like you said, people don't identify with it and don't even realize this is coming from their lineage. Why do you think?
I think it's because I think the root of it is because there hasn't been any collaboration with the main. Okay, here's a here, here's an example. If you took someone like a I'm trying to think of somebody that I could call like a Buddy Guy,
Okay.
for instance. If you took Buddy Guy and put Buddy Guy, no, I'm not going to use Buddy Guy. I'm just going to say if you just take this guy from Alabama named John Treetop. I'm just making up a name
Okay.
that no one knows. No one's ever heard of him, and 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 you take a show, and if Jay-Z calls this guy out, and he comes out and plays a guitar and sings a few songs, well, now he's exposed this John Treetop from Alabama to millions and millions of people. And so now they're going to go on social media, and he's like, hey, man, this is John Treetop, this guy's just whatever, because he follows people that take his word for what's good and what's not, because they're followers. And so now you have exposed something to other people. When they go find him, then they're going to see a Dexter Allen over there. They're going to see a whole lot of other people that they never even knew existed. So that's why I say bridging that gap with the mainstream and the blues. It's possible. It can be done, but as artists, we have to make the first step to do it, because what we do, we're giving it to the public. We're the ones giving it to the people. We're the ones that we have that power to do that, because when Michael Jackson was on stage, he was the one on stage.
Right.
Regardless of if Sony or whoever was behind him, behind the scenes, he was the one on stage. So we have to collaborate as artists to and I think those artists, I think they would do that. And that's what I've been doing with this last record I've done. I'm just kind of reaching out to some people here and there, and it's looking good so far.
That's
And
good.
but I think that's the first step, is to bridge the gap and let people know, because I mean, I have a lot of young people will, approach me and say, well, hey, what do you do? I say, I'm a blues artist. And they say, oh, I'm not really into that, blues that much. I said, well, why don't you come on out to a show? I'm doing a show here. And then they'll come, and then they leave saying, oh, man, my God, you're wonderful. You're great. I didn't know blues sound. Well, hey, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How many other millions of people out there that does know, or they stereotype of what they may feel or think blues may be or may not be.
So it could be what's the word I'm looking for? It just for lack of a better term, it could be this black cloud that people just equate blues with picking cotton and slavery and don't understand
Hmm.
anything else about it.
That's right. That's right. Because I had to, as a young African American, when I got into a young black man, when I got into blues and was traveling with Bobby Rush back then. At that time, I was his lead guitarist for 4 years, and I traveled with him. And I remember one time we were somewhere in Europe in big festival. I mean, there were probably, oh man, probably 40, 50,000 people there. And we walked backstage and we were looking out, and he said, "What do you see?" I said, "I see a lot of people, man." He said, "No, look a little closer." He said, "What do you see?" I said, "I see a lot of white people." Then he said, "No, look a little closer. Look at them. What do you see?" I think the third time I said, "I see a lot of drunk white people." So I wasn't getting it. But he told me, he said, "Look at their faces." He said, "They're young, just like you." He said, "These young people come out to see an old man sing the blues." He
Wow.
said, "If you get into this and love it and love the blues will take care of you and it'll follow you the rest of your life." So that's when I talk about the difference in the acceptance of the blues in the United States versus abroad. There's a big difference.
A huge difference, and that's been.
There's a huge difference.
Do you think it's based on what can be soul and what cannot be soul, or we just have to be on our job as artists?
We have to be on our job as artists to promote what we're doing. Think outside of the box, not just in the same little circle that we go in, and let's try to grow it. Because I hear some people say, "Oh man, the blues is blues artists are a dying breed," or whatever they said. I've heard that before,
Yeah,
but
so have I.
I know that that's not the case. But whoever those people are that think that way is because, in my opinion, they're not getting enough of it. They're not getting enough of it. I remember doing a blues festival about 3 years ago up in Quebec,
Wow.
and I think this festival had been going on for maybe 16 or 17 years, and I headlined on Saturday night, and yes, on a Saturday night. And when I got done, the people were saying things I didn't know what they were saying, so they spoke French up there. So I was asking the guy who was with us. I said, "What are they saying?" They're saying, "Well, asking where do you come from? They've never seen anybody like you. They've never seen what you do. They've never seen it out there." So my question in my mind was, how do you have a blues festival for 17 years and you never seen nobody like me? That sounds like you. I mean, I don't. So I'm just. That's true. I mean, that happened to me. So that's that tells me, okay, we gotta do better.
Yeah.
We gotta expose ourselves. We have to expose ourselves to the corners, different corners and things tucked away that we never really think about. We have to think outside of the box. Let's start this movement, and let's expose it. Let's get it out there and let them know that, hey, the blues is here to stay. I mean, I think Willie Dixon said the blues is the root and everything else is the fruit,
Yeah.
and that's true.
No, you're
Uh,
right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean,
so
if
this is. I live in Mississippi, where we're known as the birthplace of America's music, and they're talking about blues.
yeah, you're right. You're right because
So
most
we
of the
just
people, yeah,
have to get it on that forefront. And I was real proud to see maybe a month ago they were giving a dedication to Stevie Wonder, and Beyonce opened the show, and she called out Gary Clark Jr. on the stage. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I like that. That made me proud.
yeah.
That
You and me
lets me know
both.
that my mind frame is right. I'm sure he's the only blues artist that's ever shared a stage with Beyonce.
Yeah, you're right.
So he's not the only one that's reputable to do that. It's just that, so that's what we have to do. And I'm sure all of those fans were probably wondering, well, who was that guy that Beyonce was talking about? Man, play that guitar, Gary Clark. She knows who he is because she's
That's
in the
right.
industry. But the people, if they're not into blues, they don't even know he exists.
That's right. That's right. And not for nothing, because from what I've seen on TV, because I don't know Beyonce or President Obama, but
Right.
Gary Clark Jr. was at the White House at that blues ceremony that
That's
Beyonce
right.
was at. In the
That's right.
and if it wasn't for situations like that, there's a whole bunch of people that might not have known of Gary Clark.
Right, right, right.
Well, let
So
me
that's
ask you
what
this. Let me ask
In
you
a
this question.
nutshell, that's what we got to do. We just got to bridge the gap to just kind of expose the blues in non-traditional ways and non-traditional areas that we normally would just we'll just do it here. But no, let's open the doors. Let's let the world know and this up and coming crowd know that the blues is here to stay.
Hey guys, let me tell you how you can get official Talking About the Blues merchandise. Go to our online store at www.talkingabouttheblues.com where you can purchase t-shirts, hoodies, mouse pads, mugs, and iPad cases. Once you receive your merchandise, send us a pic and we'll post it on our website and different social media sites to let people know you are a part of the Talking About the Blues community. Keep bluesing.
So, when you put an album together,
Hmm.
I, of course, it's coming from your spirit, your soul, your experiences that you want to express for people to relate to. But do you think about this as well, as in maybe let me do a little something so I could uh, win a new ear or try to expose another group of people to what this is?
I do that, and I'm glad you touched on that. Uh, I released an album last year called Blues of My Soul, and which is I released that album on the Deep Rush record label, which is Bobby Rush's label. I'm the only artist that has released a record on his label outside of himself.
Mm,
And when he heard the record, it struck something in it. He said, I like this because you're thinking outside of the box. Because here's the thing: if I was a 90-year-old blues singer trying to do a collaboration with Kanye West, it wouldn't work because two different the generations are too distant.
right,
It's just too distant.
right,
So I think it has to be something, regardless of how good a song is. If it's too traditional, even if you're talking about radio, radio have certain formats, that they have to play.
right,
And it's not that the music director or the program director may love your song, but if it doesn't fit the format, it won't get the airplay.
right.
It has to fit the format. So there again, another thing of collaborating and bridging that gap. If I keep my songs strict in traditional blues, there's nothing wrong with that. It fits the blues thing, but that's all it can fit. It won't fit anything else because you look at your stations, which you understand this. I don't know if your listeners will. You have P1, P2, and P3 stations.
Right.
A P1 station reaches how many listeners?
Go ahead, be listening. Oh, you were asking me. I'm sorry. I thought you were just.
Yeah. I'm saying a P1 station reaches what, 1 million plus listeners?
Right.
That's big. How many P1 blues stations do we have that formatted just for blues?
There's not many.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. But when we talk about hip hop or pop or soft or urban stuff, old school stuff, there's a whole lot of them. But if your blues song doesn't fit that format, then it won't work. I take John Mayer put out a song called "Waiting on the World to Change,"
Right.
which to me is an alternative blues type thing. When you listen to John Mayer, he has a lot of blues roots in here.
Yeah.
You hear it in his playing. You hear, I don't know what genre he actually, the industry puts him in, but you hear the blues in him. But that song was crossover enough to cross over out of just the blues, because I heard the blues stations playing it, then I heard the urban stations playing it, because it fits their format.
Mm. Mm.
So you have to say, okay, if that's what you're trying to do, to cross over into different formats and reach larger crowds, then you have to adjust your songs and your music to be able to fit those formats. It's not that you're trying to be something that you're not, because regardless of what I'm doing, I'm a blues man.
Right, right,
That's what I'm gonna do. Because if you take an artist like Johnny Guitar Watson, Johnny Guitar Watson was respected very highly on the blues side, but he was also respected on the R&B side just as much.
right. That's
You know,
right.
if you take a Bill Withers was respected on the blues side as a great writer and song singer and all, but he respected just as much on the other side, on the R&B side.
And on the folk side, for that matter.
Right on the folk side as well.
That's right. Which to me is the folk music is blues too. So now, with that being said, what suggestion, advice, or just thought that you have that you would want to share with the enthusiasts, or that's not the word I want to use. The blues enthusiast, the purist. That's the word I'm looking for. The purist that wants to hear nothing but Charlie Patton, Robert Johnson, Son House style of play.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can't pay $20 to go see none of those people today. Or $25. You can't pay to see them, but you can come see a Dexter Allen.
I dig it. I dig it.
You
So,
see what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it, with loving, because I love the old school stuff, man. You know, I love me some Otis Redding. I wish I could, if I would probably follow Otis Redding, I love his stuff. You know, I never got a chance to see him live, but if he was living, I would pay to go see him.
absolutely, and
You know,
he's blues.
so right. So I would say to those enthusiasts, you know, this support what's here today, because that's what the generation to come is gonna have to, because they won't know and appreciate the Charlie Patton, you know, and the Led Zeppelin and all those, you know, from, unless they get into it and start researching it and know the history of it.
Right.
So,
They
you
have
know,
to
they
be
have
introduced to it.
you know, have something to connect to in this day and time, to leave a mark on them that, you know, that will still carry that torch on. And in my music, you hear the roots. I mean, you will hear, you know, I'll play some stuff, and you know, I'll mix a record up. You know,
No,
I'll put
you definitely
traditional
get
stuff
busy.
in there. I'll put because right now I'm in a position that I do what I feel. You know, I write songs that I feel,
Right.
songs that I feel right now, because I haven't had a situation where someone's telling me what to do and what not to do.
Right.
So I record and I write what I feel. You know, I remember hearing Frankie Beverly said, you know, do you, man, you know, do you, because if
Absolutely.
you try to go with the flavor of the month, you're gonna be changing every month. You know,
Right.
just, you know, if you try to do that, because this music thing changes. Today, this is on top. Next month, something else is on top. Next month, so you never really get your identity of who you are, because you're just kind of going with the flow of the industry. You know, do what you feel, and if you do it well enough, other people will feel it too.
That's right.
If they hear it, I can remember when Weird Al Yankovic did the song "Eat It," which was a thing off of Michael Jackson's "Beat It."
That's
I
right.
thought it was a terrible song, me myself personally, but it went platinum. So he
Because it
didn't
was
care what I thought.
genius. It was genius.
he
That was
didn't care what I thought, but it was a lot of people liked it.
right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he did what he felt, and he put his heart in it and did whatever, and it was successful for him. You know, so that, you know, there's no playbook, there's no rule. If you follow this, you'll have a hit record. No, because everybody, I'd sell my house to buy that book if I knew.
But I dig it. I dig it. And I'm sure everybody else would too.
Everybody else would too. You know, we'd go, we'd sell everything we got to have that book if we knew we would have a hit record. So you just have to do what you feel. Do what's in your heart, and when it comes from your heart, the people will feel it. You know, they'll best feel it. You know, good music. I mean, that's the thing. Just good music. Be saying something. Let your music say something, and it tells a story. Somebody can relate to it. Trust me.
With that being said, and I like this conversation because most conversations, when it comes to being contemporary, we're usually discussing the new business model in terms of digital sales and things of that nature. But we're actually talking about the creation of music to where it has the elements of, and just for the people that's just tuning in or whatever you're doing, I'm sitting here rapping with Dexter Allen,
Yeah.
bluesology, and we
Oh yeah.
that's right, and we going in. Now I want to talk about putting this album together.
Hmm.
When you sit down, first of all, better yet, let's start like this. What is your process from songwriting to putting the albums that you choose, the records that you choose on the album?
Here's the thing: you have to, and this is something that I talk with some other artists about. Um, Creating the essence to pull the story and the emotion from that song in the studio. Now you look at, I will even say that there's some moments performing live that I wish I would have had the tape rolling to, because it's just that energy and that emotion you're getting on the stage, and you're looking at the crowd, you're looking at the lady with the red dress over there, you're looking at the cat with the big hat, all those things are, all that energy in that room. But now here's what Barry Gordon and had on lockdown. They created essences in those studios. Some of those cats was kept out in there a month
Mm,
because, I mean, when Marvin Gaye recorded "Let's Get It On," I've heard that there was a whole lot of different versions of that song, but it was that one. I don't know what was in the studio, but when he said that, I've been really trying. Today, you feel that when he say that, and that was because they recorded the essence of
mm.
his voice and his emotion at that time. So I always say, try to get into when you're recording. Sometimes it's hard in a studio because studios now they got lamps and you know uh, track lighting, and then you kind of feel like you're in an office somewhere. You don't
Right,
really
right.
have the same. So it's try to create and feel the essence of the song to record it, because that song will live on when you're dead and gone. Those songs that I recorded, you know, if if the world is here 100 years from now, that somebody will still be playing them somewhere.
Yeah,
Somebody have
feeling it.
them. They'll still be there, and people will be feeling that. So when you record that, record the essence of the song. Try to get into the song to really pull out the essence of the song,
Well, you know
and it
what?
will
Let's
live,
talk about that.
and it'll live forever.
Let's talk about that because I've had this experience, and I'm sure the listeners who perform and record had this experience. You just explained it, so I know you understand.
Hmm.
For the people who have never had the experience, whether they're just listeners, which is fine, or they're aspiring to perform,
Right.
explain that there is a difference, or explain the difference between the live performance and studio performance.
Oh man, there's a big difference because as I spoke about earlier, an artist will bring a certain level of energy to the stage with it, and then the crowd will feed from that, and then they'll throw that energy back to you, and it's just something kind of like going to any live. You know, well, I'm not gonna say any because I've seen some cats nowadays. It's just so rehearsed. It's the same thing. They got 10 shows. All 10 of them are the same, even
Right.
live. They got it worked out, and that's cool. If it works, it works. Uh, but I'm the type of artist. It's not gonna be the same every time because I don't have a format. I don't have a my band always well, what are we doing tonight? I tell them the first song, the rest I don't know. I tell them learn all of them. Learn.
That's real.
Any musician come in my band, I tell them I learn all my music, but I never know what I'm gonna sing. I don't
Mm.
have a set list. I don't have I don't. So you never know what you're gonna get, and I never do it the same way. I did a tour first of the year up in Seattle and all those places. I did five shows back to back, and there were some photographers that followed me the whole time. And at the end of it, they they said, you know what, some of those songs you did at every place, but you did them differently. You didn't sing them the same. You didn't tell the same story. So they said they had never really seen that done that way before. So that's something that you can do on the live. When you're talking about the studio, there's a big difference because it's a more controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hot. It's not hot in there. Whereas
Right.
on stage it's hot, so your breathing is different.
Right, you're under all them lights and everything.
You're under all the lights and stuff, so your voice sounds differently. So you kind of prepare, for the studio. You can bring your little warm tea in there with you, and drink it and
Go at your own
all
pace.
of that. You can if you miss a run or a bridge, you can back up and get it, just right. But when you're live, I mean, it's everything comes out of your mouth. It's a thought process. It means something because you're delivering it to somebody out there.
Right, right.
So it's a totally different mentality.
So, you know what? Let's talk about that. Most people, especially at this day and age, based on your statement, because I've noticed that too, that you would, and again, I agree with you. It's not a problem. That's just some people's things. They have a set format show that they run with.
Right.
So now, if that's the case, that means the audience has been unconsciously trained for that. How does the
Mm-hmm.
audience react if they have your album and then they come to see you and they're expecting to hear it the way the album is, and you throw them a twist? What's the reaction there?
Oh, they love it. They love it, and they appreciate it more because they have the album, and then they'll say, "Man, the way you did that song live, man, that was the bomb." Because you added something different to it. Kind of like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right.
The album was smoking, but when you went and saw them live, I mean, they had some different segues and some chops and some things was happening that wasn't on the album that just blew your mind.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, you're
And
right.
I think it keeps your show fresh and it keeps it entertaining for the crowd when you can keep it interesting.
Right.
It's because they don't know. They're looking for something a little different. When they know you for that, when they know that that's what you will do. But now, there again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with doing it just like the record. I know some artists that say, "Hey, man, I want it played just like the record," and they do it. They're very successful in doing it, and that's fine. Some people can appreciate that as well. Not saying that I'm one that doesn't.
Right.
But it's just, I guess it's just it comes down to the artist's preference.
Right.
In
And
my
how you
opinion,
feel
I
it,
think,
and that's just how you feel it.
yeah, and how you feel it. Some guys, they got their music charted out. They gonna play it just like the record, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Here, there's even some guys that do track shows. They do track shows. I don't. I don't do a track show. Well, I do too much breaking down. You
Yeah.
can't break down a track. You can't tell the track. Break it down right here.
I dig it. I dig it.
Hey y'all, this is Mrs. D. You can hear Talking About the Blues podcast on Podomatic, YouTube, and iTunes. Remember to rate the show and show us some love.
Let's discuss your actual songwriting process. So do you sit around, play with the guitar or the bass, get a
It's a little
rhythm?
bit of both, man. I sometimes I'll hear some music because I play all instruments. Actually, my first record, Bluesman for Life, I played everything on that record.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's real Ray Charles of you.
yeah.
Stevie Wonder.
I did it all because a lot of people say, "Well, did you do all that because you just wanted?" I said, "No, I just couldn't. I couldn't afford to hire musicians come in and do it."
I dig it.
And yeah, it wasn't that I just set out to do it that way. But But it's sometimes I will just hear music or groove or something in my head, and I'll just, I'll lay it down. May not have no words to it at all. You know, and then sometimes it's the other way. Sometimes, some hooks and things will come to me, and I'll jot those things down. So my songwriting is continuous all through the year. I just released a record trilogy of my blues, and and I've probably written two more songs, since then. Just over the days, if I see something or hear something or a situation somebody's going through, if it hits my mentality, I'll write about it because I like to write songs that I feel the everyday man and woman can relate to.
Right.
That's what I like to do. I don't think you should have to have a thesaurus try to figure out what a song is about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it should. That's just my opinion. It's got to appeal to the everyday man and woman. I remember Bobby Rush. One thing he would do, he would we'd go in and record some stuff, and he'd bring it, and the musicians, if the band liked it, he said it ain't ready. He said because if musicians like it, the music is too busy.
Too complicated.
The music is outweighing the song, and because he likes his story,
Right.
So if musicians like it, that means your music is overshadowing your song.
Too much going on. So so you would say that the simple the more simple the better.
Yeah, that's less is more.
Right.
In some cases, with the blues, I put it that. With the blues, maybe if you're talking about jazz or something else, it may be a little different. They strive off of different changes, chords, things happening. This, that, and the other. But as it relates to what works for Dexter Allen, But then sometimes I'll have that side of me that want to get a little funky. So I'll you can always find a nice funk groove or two.
That's right.
On a record of mine, because that's where I come from. You're gonna find some gospel. You hear some gospel tones and some stuff in there. That's gonna be in there as well. Because I just do me. I do what I feel.
That's right. So speaking of hearing some gospel, besides incorporating your gospel roots into your music, do you have any just full-fledged, blown out, straight up gospel songs, or is just straight up blues with
No,
the gospel feel?
I don't have anything that's just straight up gospel that I've recorded since I've been doing the blues. I just kind of, when I decided I'm gonna do the blues, that's what I've been doing. I had straddled the fence, That's what my dad would say. My dad's a pastor,
Right.
church, so I when I decided to do blues, that's I've been doing just blues.
That's right.
But now I have done had opportunity to some blues festivals will have what they call like a gospel workshop, and and if there's ever an opportunity for me to be involved in those, I'm always up for that, because that's my root. That's where I come from. I know that.
That's
I
right.
know that like walking and breathing.
That's right. That's right. And
That's
you know
something
the
that I'll
gift came
always
from
support.
above.
That's right. I'll always support that. Because that's from whence I came.
That's right. That's right. So please tell the good folks where they could find you on social media, where they could buy the album and everything.
DexterAllen.com. It's hard to find. DexterAllen.com. And I heard you earlier. You mentioned my records. I have Blues in My Way, which is my first record. After that, I did a single called "Hello, Miss Santa Claus." You can find that as well. Then it was Bluesing for Life. Then Bluesinology, and Blues of My Soul, and currently Trilogy of My Blues. And you can find these records on CD Baby. You can find them on iTunes. You can find them on Google Play. You can find them on Pandora if you just want to stream some stuff. I have my own station there, the Dexter Allen Station, so subscribe to that. Just pretty much anywhere you get your music, you can find some Dexter Allen there.
That's what I'm talking about. We got to get you out here to New York, brother.
Hey man, I love to be there. I love to be there. Matter of fact, I was Well, I was a bit further than you. I just came in from Maine. Last night I was up in Rockland, Maine for the North Atlantic Blues Festival. And very beautiful country up there.
Yeah, it is. Nice air.
Nice air and great lobster.
Well,
Did I say it
you
right?
know, you got to know
We
about
were,
the lobster. You on the Delta.
we were going up there saying lobster, and they was like, no, it's lobster, lobster.
Everybody got their own dialect.
Yeah, man, I got to deal with it, man. But yes, but you can, DexterAllen.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just Google the name Dexter Allen. Everything about me pops up, I ain't hard to find. There's a little country boy in Crystal Springs with a little God-given talent.
I hear that. Well, we're going to work on a couple of things, try to get you out here. We're trying to put some stuff together, and we definitely going to stay in contact to keep the folks updated with what you're doing.
Definitely, man.
It's been really good rapping with you, talking about the blues, brother.
I've enjoyed every moment.
Dig it. So, y'all know what time it is. Y'all been bluesing with talking about the blues, and like always, if you're going to do anything, keep God first and keep on bluesing. I'm out of here.